The air was dry. The sky was red. Two suns burned high above like fireballs, cooking the desert below. On the planet Dretha, nothing moved, no water, no laughter, only silence and heat. Callan adjusted his breathing mask and stepped carefully over the cracked rocks. He had landed on Dretha only 2 hours ago. His mission was simple: collect mineral samples for the human research station on the other side of the galaxy. But this place felt wrong. His boots crunched on the dry ground. A sharp noise echoed in the distance. Then he saw her. At first, he thought it was just a broken statue lying in the sand. But then it moved. A thin arm reached weakly toward the sky. A voice tried to cry out, but it was dry like dust. Callan ran. The figure in the sand was a girl. Alien, yes, but beautiful in a strange, haunting way. Her skin was pale blue, cracked from the heat. Her silver hair stuck to her face, and her lips were bleeding. She wore thin chains on her wrists and ankles burned into her skin. Her dress was torn, her body weak. She was dying. Callan dropped beside her and held up a small water capsule. Her eyes opened slowly, big and golden, full of fear. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." She stared at him, unsure. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Slowly, painfully, she opened her mouth. Callan placed the capsule near her lips. She sipped. Her throat moved. Her eyes closed for a second. Alive, he looked around. No one was there. No sounds, no shadows. Still, he felt watched. Callan checked his scanner, no life signs nearby. Just her. So why did he feel like someone was watching? He pressed a small button on his wristpad. "Bass, this is Callan. I've found someone. A girl, alive but badly. Injured looks, enslaved. I'm bringing her aboard." There was static. Then a cold voice replied, "That is not authorized. Do not engage locals. They are Drethan class, property of the Empire." Callan stared at the dying girl. Her chains shimmered under the sun. He could see deep scars, some old, some fresh. Her hands were shaking. "Damn the orders," he whispered. Carefully, he lifted her into his arms. She was light to light, as if she hadn't eaten in days. She made a soft sound, something between pain and fear. "It's okay," Callan said. "Again, I'm taking you out of here." He walked back toward his ship. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because of her weight, but because of what he was doing. Helping her would mean trouble. The Drethan Empire did not forgive. Helping a slave, that was treason. But he couldn't leave her. He reached the ship's hatch. The AI voice inside greeted him. "Welcome back, Captain." "Who is your guest?" "She's hurt. Open the med bay." The lights inside glowed soft and warm. He laid her on the bed. Machines scanned her. The AI spoke again. Severe dehydration. Heat exposure. Signs of long-term abuse. Life signs stable, but fading. Callan sat beside her, wiped her forehead, and gave her another sip of water. Her golden eyes opened again. She looked at him not with fear this time, but confusion. "Why?" she asked in a broken voice. Just one word. Her first word. Callan paused. "'Cause no one deserves to die like that." Her eyes slowly closed. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She was asleep. He stared at her. Who was she? Why was she out there chained, alone, under the burning suns? What had she done to deserve that fate? Suddenly, the ship's alert system beeped. "Incoming signal," the AI said. "Encrypted, unknown source." Callan stood. The screen lit up. A message appeared. "Return the girl or die with her." Callan froze. Someone knew. Someone was watching. And they were coming. But he looked back at hers, leaping, broken, innocent. He made his choice. "Lock the ship," he said. and prepare for takeoff. He didn't care if the entire galaxy came for him. He was not giving her back. Asterisk, the ship flew high above Dretha's surface, leaving behind the burning sands and cruel twin suns. Inside, the silence was deep. Only the soft hum of engines and the gentle beeping of the medical machines filled the air. Callan sat beside the bed, watching her breathe. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Her skin, once dry and cracked, was now moist with medicine. The deep cuts on her wrists were sealed with biogel. Still, her face looked tired. Haunted. She hadn't said another word since that one. Why? Callan didn't know how to answer that question. Maybe he didn't even understand it fully himself. He leaned back, eyes fixed on the glowing scars across her arms and shoulders. They looked like some kind of alien language carved into her body, like she was property. A slave? But why was she left in the desert? What crime had she committed? The ship AI spoke softly, breaking the silence. Captain, her vitals are stabilizing. However, her body carries trauma from long-term mistreatment, emotional and physical. Callan nodded. She needs time and safety. Suddenly, the girl moved, her fingers twitched, her lips parted. She didn't speak, but her golden eyes slowly opened. She stared at him. This time, there was no fear in her gaze. No confusion. Only a strange kind of question. A silent one. Callan leaned forward. You're safe here. No more suns. No more pain. Do you understand? She blinked slowly. Her eyes searched his face like she was trying to read his soul. Then, carefully, she raised her hand. It shook as she pointed to her own chest. And then to him, Callan realized what she meant. Me? You want to know my name? She nodded faintly. I'm Callan, human, from Earth. She tried to repeat it. Tas. Enough. He smiled. She pointed at herself next. He waited. Rai, she whispered. Rai, he repeated. That's your name. She nodded once. Something inside Callan shifted. She wasn't just a victim now. Not just a girl left to die under alien suns. She was. She had a name, and someone had tried to erase her, suddenly. The ship's warning light blinked red. Unidentified drone detected, the AI announced. Distance, 300 kilometers. Stealth. Mode confirmed. Callan stood. On Dretha, negative. The drone is in orbit. Following us. Callan's hands curled into fists. They're tracking her. He looked at Rai. She was watching him, calm, but her eyes. They spoke louder than words. She knew this would happen. You've run before, haven't you? Callan said quietly. That's why they left you in the desert. You escaped. And now they want you back. Rai didn't answer. But her fingers gripped the blanket tightly. Callan walked to the control panel and set a new course deep space, away from any known. Routes will go dark, he told her. No signals, no lights, no trails. She blinked again. Her eyes showed something new, trust, as the ship slipped into the shadows of space. Callan turned the medbay into a quiet shelter. He brought her food soft, easy to eat. She took it slowly, watching him with every bite. She still didn't speak much, but she spoke with her eyes when he handed her a warm blanket. Her eyes said, "Thank you." When he covered the brand on her shoulder with gauze, her eyes said, "No one's ever done that before." When he sat with her in silence, not asking, not forcing, her eyes said, "You're different." That night, Callan couldn't sleep. He sat in the pilot's seat, thinking, why did he care so much? He had seen pain before. War, death, cruelty. But something about Rai was different. She was more than a slave, more than a survivor. She was proof proof that something evil was happening on Drethand, maybe in the entire Drethand Empire. And no one had dared to speak about it until now. Behind him, he heard soft footsteps. He turned. Rai stood at the doorway, still weak, but on her feet. "You shouldn't walk yet," he said. She took a step closer. Her hands trembled. She held something small, metal, glowing faintly. "A chip? What's that?" Callan asked. She placed it gently in his hand. He scanned it. The screen lit up. It showed footage, hidden cameras, recordings of slaves, punishments, executions, children taken from their homes, cities burned for disobedience. Callan stared in horror. This is real." Rai nodded slowly. You smuggled this out." Another nod, CALE, and closed his eyes for a moment. This wasn't just about Rai. Anymore, it was about all of them, and someone needed to tell the galaxy. Callan stared at the screen in front of him. The images from Rai's hidden data chip still played on repeat, burning homes, silent children in chains, Drethan soldiers dragging families into transport ships. There was no sound. The silence made it worse. He couldn't look away. His fists were tight. His jaw clenched. This wasn't just cruelty. This was a system. A machine that had crushed her people slowly, quietly, while the rest of the galaxy turned away. Behind him, Rai stood still. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just watched him. Her eyes said it all. "Now you know? Do you still care?" Callan took a deep breath and reached for the console. "I have to report this. The Human Council needs to see it." Rai's expression changed. Her head shook slowly. "No." "What?" Callan asked. "Why not?" She pointed at the screen, then crossed her wrists together like chains, then pointed to herself. "You'll be captured again." He asked. She nodded. "But I won't let that happen." She looked at him sadly, as if to say, "That's not how this galaxy works." Still, he turned on the long-range communication array. It would take a few minutes to prepare the signal. Rai sat beside him, silent. Then came the alert. "Warning, incoming priority message from Human Command." Callan accepted it. A stern, gray-haired officer appeared on the screen. His voice was cold, sharp. "Pilot Callan Drake, you have violated direct orders by interfering with local Drethan affairs. You are harboring an alien fugitive who belongs to the Drethan Empire. Return her immediately. Do not send any data. This is a final warning." Callan stood. "She's not property. She's a person." "I have proof," the officer interrupted. "We are aware of the situation. You are to follow protocol. Any further actions will mark you as a traitor to the Human Alliance." The screen went black. Callan just stood there, stunned. Rai looked at him, her eyes calmed but also prepared, as if she had known this would happen all along. "They don't care," Callan whispered. "They knew. They always knew." His hands trembled with anger. They made peace with the Drethans years ago. Trade agreements, mining deals. They're protecting their profits, not people. Rai looked at him. No words. Just waiting. Waiting for his choice. Finally, he spoke. "I'm not going to stop." He grabbed a small encrypted drive and began transferring Rai's footage. "I'll send this to someone who will listen. A truth net. Underground networks, rebels, anyone." "Danger," Rai whispered. "No," he replied. As the data uploaded, Callan set the ship on stealth mode again. No lights, no sound. Deep space hiding. Hours passed. Suddenly, the ship shook. "Warning, tracking signal locked." "A Drethan patrol ship is approaching," the AI said. "They found us," Callan muttered. Rai stood beside him, tense. Her hand grabbed the side rail. Her golden eyes were wide, but not with fear. With determination, Callan checked the sensors. One ship, fast, heavily armed. He had two options: run or hide again, but hiding wouldn't work forever. AI, prepare escape pod. For Rye. Rye looked at him, alarmed. You'll go to the outer moons. Stay low. They won't scan for one small pod. I'll lead the ship away. No, she said quietly. Her voice shook. I stay. He turned to her. Rye, if they catch us, I stay, she repeated. Louder this time, her hand touched his arm. You saved me. I fight too. He paused, then nodded. All right. We do this together. He shifted the controls and aimed the ship toward a nearby asteroid field. Perfect place to lose a pursuer. As the ship entered the rocky maze, the Drethon patrol fired. Red beams lit up the black sky. Callan swerved between giant floating rocks. The ship groaned under the stress, but it held. Rye moved fast, surprising him. She had taken control of the rear blasters and was already targeting the patrol ship. Fire. When I say, Callan called out. The Drethon ship closed in. Too close. Now. Rye pressed the trigger. A burst of energy slammed into the enemy's shields. The Drethon ship wobbled but didn't fall. Callan pushed harder, flying into tighter spaces. One wrong move and they'd crash. Behind them, the Drethons kept firing. One shot grazed their left engine. Sparks flew. Rye held on tight. Then, without warning, she opened a side panel and pulled out a hidden core cell. What are you doing? Callan asked. She spoke one word. Trap. He understood. She wanted to overload the cell, drop it, and let the enemy ship chase it, thinking it was them. Smart, they set it up, ejected the core, and turned the ship hard into a dark, narrow asteroid gap. The enemy didn't notice. They followed the fake signal. Seconds later, boom. A bright explosion echoed across space. Silence followed. They waited. Nothing followed them. We did it. Callan said, breathing hard. Rye smiled faintly. But they both knew this was only the beginning. The price of mercy was now a war. Asterisk, the stars stretched endlessly ahead. But Callan wasn't thinking about the stars anymore. He sat beside Rye in the ship's small lounge. Her arms were wrapped in soft bandages, and her wounds had mostly healed. But something deeper remained inside her. A quiet sorrow, a weight in her heart. They hadn't spoken for an hour. Not because they were angry. Just tired, quiet, thinking. Then Rye stood. She walked over to the ship's control panel and tapped the screen gently. A holographic map appeared. It showed the Drethon system, and a place deep in the southern desert zone. A ruined city, she pointed. To it? You want to go there? Callan asked. She nodded. Why? Her eyes glistened. Callan understood. That's your home, isn't it? She nodded again, this time slower. Then she whispered, Fire. They came with fire. Callan didn't ask more. He didn't need to. He set the new coordinates. The ship descended hours later, hiding beneath a thick sandstorm. Callan activated the cloaking shields and landed on the edge of the ruins. The desert was quiet. The two suns still burned above, but dimly now one was setting, painting the sky in dull orange and red. The wind whispered across shattered stone. Rye stepped out first. Her feet touched the sand softly. She looked around, not with fear, but with memory. Callan followed her. They walked through what was once a city. Stone towers now collapsed. Cracked statues buried in dust. Black scorch marks across homes, streets, and walls. Everything was broken. Everything was silent. A place that once lived, now dead. Rye walked slowly to a small structure, half crushed, half buried. She crouched down and picked up something from the sand. A small metal pendant, worn, rusted, but shaped like a flower. She held it close to her chest. "My sister," she whispered. She wore this. She was only 5. Callan's heart twisted. What happened here? She turned to face him. Her voice was flat. "We had nothing. No weapons, no soldiers. Just life." Then Drethan ships came. They said we were illegal, unregistered, that our blood was mixed. They burned everything. I was taken, others, not lucky. Tears didn't fall from her eyes. They were dry, as if she had cried them all long ago. They said we were too small to matter, too weak to fight. But they were afraid. Not of weapons, of truth, of voices. That's why they erased us. Callan looked around again. Now he saw the bones beneath. The rubble, small ones. Too small. The sandstorm picked up slightly. Rai didn't move. "Why bring me here?" Callan asked softly. She looked at him, to remember, and to ask. Ask what? She hesitated, then said it clearly. "Will you help me show the galaxy this?" Callan didn't speak for a moment. He wasn't a soldier anymore. Just a pilot, a messenger. A small man with a small ship, but Rai had shown him a graveyard. A quiet world that screamed for justice, double quotes. "Yes," he said at last, "I will help you." All the way. Rai breathed in slowly, as if releasing something heavy. Then she knelt in the sand and pressed the pendant deep into the earth. Like a goodbye, suddenly Dash's scanner beeped. Incoming movement, multiple signals. South quadrant. Callan stood. Damn, they followed us. He grabbed Rai's hand. "We have to go. Now." But Rai didn't run. She looked behind the rubble and then pointed. A tunnel entrance. Covered by broken stone. Smart girl. They slipped into the hidden path as shadows. Moved above them. Drethan searchers. Quiet, quick, armed, inside the tunnel. It was cold. The walls were lined with carving stories told in symbols and lines. "What is this place?" Callan whispered. Sacred Rai replied. "Our stories, our names. Before. They burned us." They followed the tunnel until it opened into a small chamber. A beam of light came from a crack above, shining on a single stone slab. On it drawings, aliens, like Rai, standing with humans, holding hands, sharing tools. Smiling, Callan's eyes widened. This is ancient." She nodded. "We knew humans before. Long ago, before the wars. But the Drethans erased that too." Suddenly, Callan had a new thought. If we record this, if we show that your people were peaceful, connected to Earth, maybe it changes everything. Rai touched the stone gently. "Then do it." He pulled out a scan module and began recording everything: the drawings, the symbols, the stories above them. Faint footsteps echoed through the rubble. "They're still searching," he whispered. "We hide," Rai said, "until stars come." Nightfall, they stayed in silence, watching the past carved into stone. And as darkness came, Callan understood one thing clearly. This wasn't just about saving Rai anymore. This was about saving the truth. The stars had risen above Dretha. The 2 suns were finally gone, leaving behind a dark sky filled with silent fire. Deep underground, in the ancient tunnel, Callan and Rai waited. Rai sat close to the stone wall, her fingers tracing old carvings. The stories of her people once alive, now hidden under dust and silence. Callan stood near the entrance, holding his scanner tight. 3 Drethan life signs, still circling. "They haven't found us yet," he whispered. Rai didn't speak, but her eyes were alert. "Ready?" Callan looked at her. Something had changed in her over the last few days. She wasn't just a lost girl anymore. She had strength, now quiet strength. Not made from power, but from survival. "We can't stay here long," Callan said. "The tunnel has another exit." She nodded. "North side, old path. I remember." They moved quietly through the narrow stone passage. Callan held his stun blaster. Rye carried a flashlight made from salvaged ship parts. After 30 minutes of walking, they reached a tight corner. Then dash boom. A loud blast echoed behind them. Dust and rocks fell. The path behind collapsed. "They found the entrance," Callan said. "They're coming." Suddenly, bright red lights blinked ahead. 3 Drethan soldiers appeared from the far side waiting. Armed, it was a trap. Dry froze. Callan pushed her back behind him. He raised his weapon, but the Drethans laughed. One of them stepped forward. A tall one with sharp armor and glowing green eyes. His voice was cold. "You're brave, human. Stupid, but brave." Callan didn't blink. "She's not yours." The Drethan leader smirked. "She belongs to the Empire. She's a runner. She stole restricted data. You have 10 seconds to hand her over." "She's not a criminal," Callan growled. "She's a witness." "And your Empire is guilty." The Drethan smiled wider. "We burn worlds for less than this." The tunnel trembled. Behind Callan, Rye stood up slowly. She stepped forward. Her hands were raised, but not in surrender. She was holding something, a light bomb, small, powerful, blinding. Before anyone could move, she shouted. "Close eyes." Callan shut his eyes instantly. Flash, a blinding white light exploded across the tunnel. The Drethans screamed. Callan grabbed Rye's hand. "Run." They ran down the side tunnel. Stone cracked beneath their feet. Alarms echoed behind them. The Drethans were angry now. They reached a cracked staircase and climbed fast. It led them to a hidden surface hatch half covered by rubble. Callan slammed the release panel. Clank. The hatch opened. Cold air rushed in. They crawled out onto the desert floor. Night had fallen fully now. The sands were cooler, shadows deeper. Callan tapped his comlink. "Ship. Autopilot to location Zaytanine. Now." The ship parked miles away, started flying toward them. But the Drethans weren't done. They came out of the tunnel blasters ready, shouting in their own tongue. "PZHHHH." A red beam flew past Callan's shoulder. "Keep moving." He yelled. Rye grabbed a plasma flare from his belt and threw it behind them. Boom! Sand flew into the sky. They ducked behind a dune, panting. The ship was now just a speck of light in the sky, heading their way fast. Callan looked at Rye. "You okay?" She nodded, face covered in dust, but her eyes burned with fire. "I fight, not run." He almost smiled. "We'll do both." The Drethans were closing in again. One aimed directly at Rye. PZHHH. But before the shot hit, Callan jumped. In front of her, he took the blast in the side. It wasn't a full hit, but it burned. He dropped to one knee, groaning. "Callan." Rye grabbed him. "No, I'm okay," he gasped. Armor caught most of it. He tried to stand. Blood dripped down his ribs. The ship was almost there now. Its lights swept over the dunes. Then Rye did something unexpected. She stood tall and screamed, not in fear, but in rage. She grabbed Callan's blaster and fired. One shot straight into the Drethan leader's shoulder. He dropped, howling. The others froze. Then -VRRRRRRMM. MM. M. The ship arrived, hovering low. The hatch opened. The AI's voice echoed, "Captain." Now or never. Rai helped Callan up. Together, they sprinted into the ship as the door closed. Rai looked out one last time. The Drethans were still standing. Shocked, beaten, but alive, she didn't smile. She just whispered, "This is not over." Inside the ship, Callan collapsed into a chair. The medbots rushed over. "You okay?" Rai asked softly. He nodded weakly. "You saved me. You saved me first." They looked at each other. And for a moment, the galaxy outside didn't exist. Then Callan said, "It's time to end this. Time to show the universe what they're hiding." Rai answered with one word. Together. Asterisk. The ship flew silently through deep space. Rai sat beside Callan in the cockpit. His side was wrapped tightly in bandages. The wound still hurt, but he refused to rest. There was something more important than pain now. He stared at the holoscreen. A single file blinked there, the footage from Rai's hidden chip, and the scan images from the sacred city. The truth was ready. But there was one big problem. "If we send this the normal way," Callan said, "they'll block it." Rai leaned forward. "You have other way?" He nodded. "Yes, there's a rebel relay on the edge of Sector 9. Old station, half dead, but still working." Rai tilted her head. "Rebels. People like us," Callan said. "People who don't follow the council, who speak truth. If we send the signal through the middle reach, every corner of the galaxy." Rai looked at the map. "Far, far," he replied. "And dangerous. Drethan territory surrounds it." She nodded. "Let's go." Callan smiled. "That's what I like about you." "No fear." She didn't smile back. "I have no home left to fear for." His smile faded. He understood her more than ever now. The ship jumped into warp speed. Stars stretched into white lines. The journey would take 5 hours. Time passed slowly. Callan rested in the medical pod. Rai walked the ship in silence, her thoughts deep. She stopped at the mirror in the crew room. Her face still showed signs of the sun's burn, though healing. The chain marks on her wrists were faint now, but she could still feel them. She whispered to herself, "They called us less than dirt. Now they will see us." At the 3rd hour, the ship's alarms blared. "Alert, incoming Drethan signal detected." 2 ships approaching fast. Callan jumped out of the medpod, ignoring the pain. "They found us again." Rai rushed into the cockpit. "How?" Callan cursed. "They planted a tracer somewhere on my armor when we were ambushed." Tore off his chest plate and found it. A small black disc. Rai grabbed it and smashed it under her boot. Too late. Distance, 120,000 kilometers, the AI warned. "They'll intercept in 7 minutes." "We won't make it to the relay," Callan said. "Not like this." Rai looked out the window. "What do we do?" He thought hard. Then said, "There's one more option." He opened a hidden panel. In the back of the ship, inside was a silver box, locked, marked emergency use only. "What is it?" Rai asked. "A solar burst relay core. One time signal. Burn power, shoot message everywhere at once. Problem is, it also gives away our exact location." Rai nodded slowly. "We send it. We fight after." He paused. "It's a suicide move." She touched his hand. "Not suicide. Sacrifice." He looked at her deeply, then opened the box, the Caherm to life. Energy danced across the ship's systems. The AI voice changed tone. "Warning. Power drain at 70%. Signal burst will expose location. Recommend escape immediately." Callan ignored it. He inserted Rai's data. The footage, the city, the carvings, her face, her voice. He looked at Rai. "Anything you want to say to the galaxy?" She stepped forward. Her voice was steady. To those who hear this, we were alive. We had names, homes, families. The Drethans burned us because they feared our memory. But I remember. I survived, and now you will remember too. Callan pressed send. Whom? A white pulse exploded from the ship like a starburst. Invisible waves shot into the dark, carrying their message to every network, every channel, every channel. Every system the ship dimmed. Power at 30%, the AI warned. Shields down, engines failing. Then the radar, 2 red dots. Drethan warships. Close now. Too close. They're locking on, Callan said. Weapons ready. Rye stepped to the side panel and opened the emergency armor locker. Callan's eyes widened. You can't fight them alone. She pulled out a plasma rifle. Not alone, he smiled again painfully. Together, always. The warships opened fire. KZZZZZ HH 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 H H H H H H H H H H H H H H H H H H Sev. My last, it sounds. It's as praise. It's a wes. We see we lives. We live with it. We lead it to me. We lily silly be a kadada wise. It's a you so at me. Greek it cuss a clig. It's to kit it to dot it to guy. It's it it. Clit. Totally cut it. Keep weeded at the bits. And then split it with sit up and says said the first blast shook the ship. Sparks flew. Panels broke. They fired back missiles, energy beams, counterfire. But they were outgunned. Still, they fought. Then, just when everything seemed lost, new signal appeared on the radar. Dozens of ships, human design. A voice came through the speakers. This is Commander Rel of the Resistance Fleet. We received your message. Hold position. We're coming in hot. Callan's heart leaped. Rye's eyes widened. The AI confirmed. Multiple ships, non-Drethan, charging weapons. Boom. The sky outside lit up. The Drethan warships turned suddenly outnumbered. They fired wildly. But the Resistance fleet overwhelmed them. In minutes, Sit was over. Smoke filled space. Silence returned, and the Resistance hailed them again. Your story is already spreading. The galaxy knows now, and the Drethans won't silence you again. Rye sat down beside Selene. She whispered, "It worked." He smiled, breathing hard. Yeah, it did. The war was over at least this battle. Rye stood at the ship's open hatch, staring into the stars. Behind her, the wreckage of 2 Drethan warships floated in pieces. The Resistance fleet moved in quiet formation, protecting them now, surrounding them like a shield. She should have felt peace. Instead, she felt heavy. Callan walked up beside her. His side was still sore, but the medgel had done its work. He held a mug of warm synth tea and offered it to her. She took it slowly. "Thank you. Your voice changed the galaxy," Callan said softly. "It's already everywhere. Human worlds, alien systems, even neutral colonies. They've all seen the footage. Your face, your words, your people's truth." Rye nodded. "They see now, but will they believe?" He smiled. "They don't have a choice anymore. Truth doesn't disappear once it's out. It grows." She looked down at the tea, then out into the stars again. "What happens now?" she asked. Callan sat down on the ship's metal floor and leaned against the hatch wall. "We have options. Options." "Yeah." The Resistance offered us both. A ride to their capital world. They want to give you protection, honor, even leadership if you want it. Rye turned to him, surprised. "Leadership? You're the voice of the survivors now. A symbol. People are listening. Rai didn't reply. After a pause, Callan added, I could go with you. Or, I've been offered a full pardon from the Human Council. She blinked. But they called you traitor. He laughed bitterly. Yeah. But now they say, I'm a hero. Funny how fast things change when the cameras turn. Rai's face didn't change. Will you go back to Earth? I don't know, he said. Depends where you go. She looked away quickly. For the first time, she looked unsure. I don't belong anywhere, she said. Double quotes, yes you do, he replied. Wherever you choose to stand, that's where your place is now. She stepped back inside the ship and sat across from him. The lights inside were soft now, warm. The danger was gone, but something deeper still held tight in their hearts. She spoke after a long silence. My people, what's left of them? They're scattered, hiding. Some live in old mining stations. Others on forgotten moons. Some don't even speak our language anymore. They forgot who they are. Then you help them remember, Callan said. She shook her head. I'm not strong. Yes, he said. You are. You survived the suns. You survived the desert. You survived the chains, and you gave the galaxy the truth. He leaned closer. That takes more strength than any army. Her golden eyes met his, and for the first time since they met, she smiled. Later that day, the Resistance captain, Commander Rel, came aboard. He was tall, gray-bearded, and wore a patch over one eye. He bowed slightly to Rai. You've started. Something bigger than you know, he said. The Drethan Empire has gone silent. Their allies are pulling back. Worlds that feared speaking out are finally rising. He placed a small crystal device on the table. This holds security clearance and navigation codes. With this, you can travel freely through Resistance territory. No one will touch you. Rai took it slowly. Thank you, Callan asked. What about her people? Can they be found? We'll help, Rel promised. We already have teams searching for refugee signals, and we'd like you to be part of that mission. If you're willing. Rai looked at Callie. He didn't say a word, but his eyes told her, I'll go where you go. She nodded. Yes, I'm ready. 3 days later, a new ship was given to them. Sleek, fast, painted with the mark of freedom. Rai stood in the pilot's seat. Callan sat beside her. Where to first? He asked. She opened the map. Here, she said, pointing to a moon. Near the edge of the Veil sector. A whisper said survivors live in the caves there. He nodded. Then, that's where we go. The ship's engines roared softly as they prepared to launch. Callan turned to her. One more question, he said. After all this, do you still believe in mercy? She looked at him for a long time, then said, yes, because it was mercy that saved me, and love that gave me strength. He smiled. The ship rose into the stars. They didn't look back, because now they were the future. Together,